the story that is not reported. The big story is the story that is avoided. The big story is the story which a section of the media, because they get an advertising campaign and a junket, choose not to report. The story only Republic will tell you, and the story you need to think about. Ladies and gentlemen, London Bengaluru Air India flight 132 was grounded after a pilot reported a possible huge defect in the plane's fuel control switch during pre-flight procedures. Fuel control switch. Ladies and gentlemen, think, when was the last time we were all talking about it? When was the last time you heard about it? Now, after the pilot flagged his concern and said, look here, there's something wrong with the fuel control switch, Air India quietly took the plane out of service as a quote-unquote precautionary measure. Air India knows how big that could be. Go a few months back and remember what happened to Air India Flight 171, which crashed after taking off from the Ahmedabad airport for London in the other direction. It carried 230 passengers, 10 cabin crew and 2 pilots. Only 1 person survived because after 40 seconds of taking off, both engines of that same 787, same Dreamliner, lost power in the initial climb. That time also, there were questions over the fuel control switch. What is the similarity? The similarity is, ladies and gentlemen, that in July 2025, the preliminary report from investigators probing the Air India Dreamliner crash showed that seconds after taking off, the plane's fuel control switch was switched off, briefly starving them of fuel. No fuel, no climb, and immediate crash. What is the common thread? The common thread is the fuel control switch anomaly. And I have been saying for the longest time to the people who run Air India, don't try and pretend to cry in fake interviews. I've told these people, don't try and do advertising campaigns. Don't try and distribute money among some media houses thinking they won't respond to you. Change the way you're working. Look at the issue. In both these cases, ladies and gentlemen, including the London Bengaluru 132 incident of today, the pilot identified a possible defect in the fuel control switch during pre-flight checks. This stopped the escalation. In the Boeing 787 Dreamliner crash involving Flight 171, the fuel control switch was switched off, both of them, causing a catastrophic loss of power. In other words, the same system which had a problem during the crash is the same system in the same plane and the same kind of plane, same make of plane, where the same problem has emerged today. Fuel control switch. Imagine Air India, you are allowing people to blame your pilots. The key difference is timing and outcome between that and this. In this case, the anomaly was detected on the ground. The other one, the anomaly happened in the air. But the result could have been catastrophic. What makes me livid is the templated and fake reply of Air India. They said, we are aware that one of our pilots has reported a possible defect in the fuel control switch of a Boeing 787 aircraft. Here also they're trying to blame the pilot. One of our pilots has possibly reported. Look at the words being used here to put in that element of we're not sure about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact is what Air India should have said is we're grateful to the pilot in one of our planes for preventing a catastrophic situation with the fuel control switch. We have made a mistake, Air India should have said, by not taking this seriously so far and by being in denial. Hence, we have compromised the safety of our passengers, and since we have been caught a second time running with such a mistake, our hands in the cookie jar, we are going to really sack our entire top management and make people accountable before trying to talk back to people in the media like Republic who are raising these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, the same kind of statement, templated statement that Air India gave today is the statement that their managing director, Campbell Bilson, spoke after the June crash. Then too, ladies and gentlemen, then too, Air India has said, we are focused on the safety of our passengers. Now you tell me, viewers, if Air India was focused on the safety of its passengers, would today's incident have happened? That's the question that everyone in the Tata Group, including Mr. Chandrasekhar, should begin to ask themselves. And this is the same plane Same airline which then goes to the government of India and says, because of rerouting that has happened post-Pahalgam, we have suffered losses, please give us a 4,000 crore subsidy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the same airline which then groups together with Indigo, groups together with some other airline and says, we are not going to implement the flight duty timing safety norms. We are not going to give any relief to our pilots. We are not going to follow the safety norms that the government of India had implemented and promised to implement. This same airline, which has come up with this catastrophic news today, which could have led to a catastrophic situation, is battling at the same time the government of India. And the government of India, the civil aviation minister, is giving the longest rope for some reason, longest rope to Air India. Do what the hell you want. And I want to ask the government of India, will they take responsibility if anything goes wrong? How many more crashes do we want? And to the national media, I want to say, why are you not talking about this? Did it just take an advertising campaign and a junket for you to seal your lips? Ladies and gentlemen, I want Air India to wake up. I don't want you to let them compromise passenger safety any longer.